With this increase in awareness about well-being, eventually you needed to take care of your skin. Obviously about how you look and how you feel, but also how your skin impacts your overall health.
When we start to see the things that I'm starting to see now in my 40s, little creases in the neck and around the eyes, like what's the degradation that's happening?
Basically what's happening is this accumulation of damage in our cells, in the skin cells. So they stop producing collagen, for example. And also what it's related is the accumulation of senescent cells, also called zombie cells. And the inflammation that they secrete induces the cells around to age faster.
It's a very complex process that's happening on our body, and a lot of it's influenced by lifestyle choices. Sugar can bind to the proteins on the skin and can create advanced end glycan products. The collagen that's on the skin, when it's binding to sugar, it gets more stiff and can also cause.
What are some common skincare myths and misconceptions that you'd like to correct that are out there today? Hey everyone, Kevin Rose here. Just a quick little introduction to this show. This show is all about skin health. I wanted to have a couple experts on the show to talk about all of the different things that have been pitched out there to be healthy for your skin, what's BS, what's not, what works, what's been scientifically proven. And so I'm really thrilled to get into this today. Obviously, it should come as no surprise. I'm in my late 40s. I'm starting to care more and more about skin health. Unfortunately, and this is something I wish I could go back and tell my 20-year-old or 30-year-old self, now is the time, meaning back then was the time to start really digging into and caring about skin health, because it's a cumulative thing. It adds up over time, and damage is not done in days, weeks, or months, but it's done over several years. And today I want to have a couple experts on to talk about all of this. Now, one of the things I will say is that the two co-founders that I'm having on today of OneSkin, they're both PhDs in their field. They're both insanely brilliant. They do run a skincare company called OneSkin. This is not sponsored. This is not paid for. That was very important to me. And I also want to have credible people on the show. So let me tell you a little bit about how I found out about OneSkin. So for me, as someone that, I don't have my PhD, I'm not here to give you any type of health-related advice, but what I'm here to do is interview actual experts that know what they're talking about. And so I pay attention to signal. I'm always looking for who are the scientists, who are the trusted resources that are talking about this stuff. And when I see multiple pattern matches, multiple people saying the same thing, I pay attention. So in this particular case, I follow Dr. David Sinclair, an insanely well-known, highly respected longevity expert from Harvard. Dr. Sinclair first was mentioning the research that these two women were doing in a podcast, and it wasn't a paid podcast. He just mentioned it as being something to pay attention to. Later, I would say probably about a month or so later, I saw Dr. Rhonda Patrick on her podcast mention the peptides that these women are researching. So I love this company. It's 4 female founders, all with PhDs in skin regeneration, stem cell biology, immunology, and bioinformatics. They're absolute experts in their field. We cover a whole slew of different supplements and skincare products, and I think there's a lot to take away from this episode. Let's take a look. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Kevin. We're very excited for this conversation.
It's really important. It's funny. It's a very strange time in that, 2-3 years ago, if I'd scroll Instagram, I wouldn't see anything about men's skincare health. Like there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, just came out with his own line of skincare. It's like there's another ad that I keep getting pitched that is about men's skincare. It's like, finally, I feel like guys are starting to care. I know I'm like putting guys in a big bucket here, but it seems like that's starting to become more of a thing. Like, would you all agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think with this increase in awareness about well-being, eventually you needed to take care of your skin, right? And it's obviously about how you look and how you feel, but also how your skin health impacts your overall health. So I think men are becoming less, I would say, how can I say?
Less scared of start using skincare products. It's not like a girl thing anymore.
Yeah.
And especially with the growth of longevity. And we're talking about the possibility of living 120 years, 150. how do you want to look when you're as old as 100 years old?
Right.
So I think all this conversation, as Carol was saying, around wellness, it's just like bringing more awareness to the guys to start, okay, I want to look good. I also want a strong skin. I want to feel confident. So that's all leading to this increase on new skincare brands, but also interest of men to skincare.
Yeah, and I think one of the other points is that before, men usually were skeptical about these products. They say, oh, this is all BS, they don't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think having more brands that are science-backed that can really prove how the product works.
Right.
This is getting the attraction of men and they say, okay, can actually be beneficial for my skin, so I will invest on this. Why not? They don't want anything that's super complicated in general, right? Like you don't have too much time. But I think if it's something simple, but that you can feel better about your skin, I think a lot of men are buying to it.
Yeah. Part of the reason I really wanted to have you both on is, one, I think you've created a really innovative product that we can get into. And obviously, we don't want to make this as not a paid podcast in any way. So we want to cover a broad range of different issues around skin. But you're both PhDs. Like you are, you're not just marketers. You're not like, I mean, you're like legit scientists doing real science here on skin aging, which I think is really cool. Mm-hmm. I'd love to start at a kind of the beginning, which is, for me, I'm of the generation that sadly, SPF when I was younger was like optional. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things where parents were like, well, if you don't get too burned or you just get a little bit of blisters, it's okay. And like now it's like I'm lathering my kids and like, so when do we not need to start caring about our skin? Like what age? And then when we start to see the things that I'm starting to see now in my 40s, which is like, little creases in the neck and around the eyes, like in the center of what's happening? What's the degradation that's happening?
Yeah. So aging is basically an accumulation of damage over time. So since we are born, we start aging. And obviously we start to notice the signs of aging when we're like, late 20s, maybe 30s. It varies for each person and it varies based on your lifestyle. If you're being exposed to too much sun, too early. But basically what's happening is this accumulation of damage in our cells, in the skin cells. So some skin cells are so damaged that they stop functioning well. So they stop like producing collagen, for example. That's one of the main proteins that maintain the skin firmness. And if you have less collagen, you are going to see signs of like sagging, wrinkle. So, and also what it's related with this accumulation of damage is the accumulation of senescent cells, also called like zombie cells. And the problem of those cells is that they secrete inflammation. And the inflammation that they secrete induces the cells around to age faster. So we like to compare them with like a rotten apple in a bunch. So if you have one like senescent cells, that cell is inducing the healthy cells around to age faster. So what we want to do is try to avoid the buildup of those zombie cells in the skin. Because if you have less inflammation, you can allow the healthy cells to replicate, to produce collagen, and you can keep your skin at that younger and healthy state.
Is it avoiding buildup or is it killing them off?
It's both. It's definitely more challenging to kill them off because you need to be very specific in targeting only the senescent cells and not the healthy cells. And most of the alternatives that are in the research phase right now, they are not as specific, so they can cause some toxicity. So there are options that instead of like killing them off, you can basically prevent them of releasing those inflammatory factors that cause, that spread of aging.
Right.
So imagine that you put that bad apple in a plastic bag, so it's not spreading that inflammation anymore. So you preserve the healthy cells around. And what happens when you do that is that your own body can clear them off because our bodies do that naturally. we lose this ability of clearing them off when we get old because we accumulate so many of them and our immune system gets deficient. So there is a way that we can restart this process and your body can continue to do its work.
One of the things a scientist that I follow is the work of Dr. Walter Longo out of UCSD. Mm-hmm. His is more on the fasting side of things. Yeah. And so using prolonged fasting to clear some of these senescent cells because they simply are deprived of nutrients and, they're already dysfunctional to begin with. Yeah. And then the idea is that you deprive them enough and because they're dysfunctional, they'll die off. Yeah. And so they've had some really good research in a friend of mine was unfortunate enough to come down with stage 4 cancer. And in conjunction with his chemotherapy was a fasting regimen as well, which was supposed to help that process along. Does fasting, I can't imagine, the skin is our largest organ, right? Yeah. Does fasting help with clearing any of these cells in the skin?
It does. It definitely helps with the autophagy. So when you're in fasting, you're basically in this process of preserving energy. So what your body does is basically to recycle the cells and proteins that are not functioning well. And in this case, they basically recycle those senescent cells, so clear them off to, have more energy to build out like new skin cells.
So if you're like me, and I'm sure you are, you're buying almost everything you buy online. Like 95% of the stuff I buy is now online. Mostly big websites. Every once in a while, a smaller website. But sure enough, at least once or twice a year, my personal data gets leaked out there. That means name, address, phone number. It can be social, it can be date of birth. It can be a whole slew of different things. And this data, once it's been hacked and released, it's being resold by companies called data brokers. These are like absolutely evil companies, but they are companies. So that means if you take the time to monitor, find your data, then hire a lawyer, then send them a takedown notice, you can have some success and they will remove your data. Now, obviously, your time is more valuable than that. So I wanted to tell you about a service that I use and today's sponsor called Delete Me. So they use an actual power of attorney to reach out to these data brokers and have your data removed from the web. Now, there are over 750 sites that they are constantly monitoring, looking for your data, and they keep removing it as it shows up, which unfortunately, it constantly does. So I use this for myself personally, and the cool thing that they just announced is an expansion to their core service, and that's the ability to extend protection and peace of mind to anyone you wish to include in your Delete Me account. It's called the Family Account Management. You can create this kind of unified hub for your entire family privacy protection. Now, right now, you can get 20% off all plans with the code KevinRose, one word, KEVINROSE, at joindeleteme.com/KevinRose. And that really helps sponsor the show. So make sure to go to the URL, joindeleteme.com/KevinRose. Okay, trivia of the day. What does MMA fighter Conor McGregor, Tony Hawk, and I have all in common? We are professional athletes at the top of our game. That is not true for me. The only thing we have in common is that we all use cold plunges from plunge.com. And that is why I'm so stoked that they are a sponsor. I've been doing cold training for close to 10 years now. And I have to say, nothing has impacted my mood and energy more than a cold plunge. I have more sustained energy throughout the day. I cut down my coffee intake now. I do a single cup of coffee in the morning, first thing in the morning, and then I go directly into the plunge. I have to say, plunge.com, their cold plunges, I think they're the best of the best. They have a whole wide range of options that you can have to choose from, which is great because everyone's at a different price point. And they have this new series called the Evolve series, which is customized to really just mix and match like your favorite options. So they have a chiller, you can pick your plunge style. Each one is sold separately. I went with the crazy edition, the iPhone controlled plunge all in, which is fantastic. A buddy of mine had a little less space and wanted to move his around a bit. So he got the Plunge Evolve Air, which is super portable and lightweight. They go down to really cold temperatures, 37 degrees Fahrenheit, which for the math nerds is 2.77 degrees Celsius. Check out all the options, plunge.com/KevinRose. Make sure to go to plunge.com/KevinRose. And they're just super easy to maintain too. I have a pool guy that does my pool. I don't even have him touch the plunge. I just do it myself. It's easy. Anyway, plunge.com/KevinRose. Kevin Rose. And then when you think about like just skin, the thing that's confusing to me about this is that when I think about like a wrinkle that I have, right? Like the one in the center of my head. Okay. I get that there's cells there that are unhealthy, but like when they die off as they naturally will, why doesn't a good, healthy, new, like fresh young cell come into the mix and like fix that? Why is there always, it's a continual thing of like aged cells?
So there are changes that are happening throughout the aging process that is regulating which genes are being expressed in our cells. So these are epigenetic changes, and one of them is DNA methylation. So changes on the DNA methylation can lead to different gene expression. And we analyzed 500 different samples, skin samples, and looked to the DNA methylation profile of those samples. And we observed that, especially around 30 years old, there is a drift on the epigenetic changes. So there's some kind of change on the methylation profile that's making the cells to express different genes that sometimes is leading to collagen breakdown. It's accelerating onsets of cellular senescence. It's accelerating inflammation. So it's a very complex process that's happening on our body. And a lot of it's influenced by lifestyle choices. So when I say that around 30 years old, you have this drift on these epigenetic markers, this can be different from one person to other, depending on some lifestyle choices or exposure that this person has.
When you say lifestyle exposure, I mean, the first thing pops in my head is always sun.
Yeah.
Is that the number one offender here? And if you had to stack rank them based on biggest offenders that are going to damage your skin over time, sun's going to be number one. Is that?
Accounts for 90% of our skin aging. Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay.
And sometimes it's accumulating as well. Sometimes you are young and you are exposing yourself to a lot of sun and your skin is still like repairing super well, but the damage starts to accumulate. And then that's why when you turn 40, you are not being able like to repair as well as before because you already accumulated damage from years before.
I see. Okay. Yeah. So it's a cumulative thing that you just can't see until there's a certain tipping point.
And then you can't reverse as fast. As you said, like if you clear off like one senescent cells, there is a lot others there that you still need to continue to clear. So basically you have accumulated so much damage over time that it's going to take a while for you to reverse those signs of aging. But it is possible. Obviously, it's easier to prevent than reverse, but that's why we see benefits in clinical studies, because we see that by targeting some of those underlying mechanisms of aging, you can actually change the makeup of the skin and lead to like a better appearance, smoother skin. But it's something that happens, overnight.
If it happened overnight, like there'd be bigger concerns. Like if you're doing
exactly, you can it can be dangerous for you. Or it's just like a makeup thing that if you wash your face next day.
I mean, if you're changing that many cells that fast, I'd be, are these dividing the right way? Like what's going on here? I would love to. Well, one of the things about the sun that has been said, the positives is it's the vitamin D creator largely, right? It's the sunshine that creates vitamin D in our skin. It's very important, more or less. They call it vitamin D, but it's like it's more of a hormone than it is a vitamin. Tons of positive benefit from keeping your vitamin D levels in check. How do you strike that balance?
Yeah, I think to me. Obviously, we know that you need the sun, and you need the sun at a higher index rate to produce vitamin D. That means that, early morning sun is not going to induce vitamin D.
Right.
So you need to be in the sun like at noon. I think when I put on a scale like the benefits of producing vitamin D from the sun and the potential risks that sun damage can cause, including skin cancer, pigmentation, aging, I would rather protect my skin with sunscreen and supplement in vitamin D with other sources. Also because even if you apply sunscreen, it's really hard if you're in the sun the whole day that you are completely block all sun, right? So you can still get some, production from the sun. I think, but obviously you can supplement with your diet and other, vitamin D supplements. So to me, I would not, take the risk of getting some potential skin cancer or damage if I have other sources to supplement vitamin D.
That makes sense.
And I love being in the sun. So I know if I'm on the beach, if I'm exercising on the sun, if I'm playing volleyball for the whole day, I'll get like 10, or, I'll see that, I'm absorbing some light, so I'll be producing some vitamin D. And the other important thing is basically to track, like really do like labs frequently to see how are our levels.
Yes.
And then make sure if you need just supplementing.
Especially in the winter, you got to get that checked. Yeah. So we talked about sun being the number one offender. What would be your if we had to give you 5 to people out there, what are some other big offenders for skin damage?
One other big offender is sugar. So sugar can bind to the proteins on the skin and can create, it's called advanced end glycan products. And it can really the collagen that's on the skin, when it's binding to sugar, it gets more stiff. So it kind of change the elasticity of the skin and can also cause inflammation. So excess of processed food and full of sugar cannot actually damage your skin as well. So it's something that a lot of times people don't think about. But there's a big correlation with the sugar damaging your skin as well.
Is that just refined sugar? Is that fructose as well? Is it, you think it?
It's fructose as well, can in high volumes, high intake. Fructose, glucose at the end, they are break down in sugars that can bind on collagen proteins in the skin as well.
Do you have any sense of how much you have to consume for that to be the case?
It's harder to say. I think in the end, we're talking about having a balanced diet, right?
Yeah.
So obviously if you eat some fruits, and you can always choose berries instead of fruits that are in high fructose, like, grapes or banana. And in the end, obviously, you are not eating a lot of processed sugar every day. You're not eating a lot of fat that can be very inflammatory as well. So it's harder to say one specific amount. Is mainly that overall lifestyle that you should avoid refined sugar on a day-to-day.
This is fascinating, because if you think about it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, when I go to a health food store and they sell a smoothie, it's going to be packed with sugar, typically 20 to 30 grams of sugar, and that's through various sources. A lot of it is if you put a cup of orange juice into anything, you're getting a lot of condensed fructose, right? And then they'll say, well, we're going to add some collagen powder in as well, right? And it's net, that's a negative for your skin, right? It has to be, right?
Yeah, I would say that because it's going to be still processed in your stomach, right? So you're going to use some of that sugar for, for example, if you just exercise, you're going to, build muscle.
But if you're sedentary.
And you have the collagen that's going to be broken down in peptide, and you're going to use some of those peptides to build more collagen in your skin. So it obviously, if you are accumulating that sugar, if you're not using all of it, then it can be detrimental.
What's detrimental is the spike of glucose on your blood.
Oh, interesting.
So, sometimes, of course, we still need sugar. It's still something important for us as a nutritional fact. But if you, for instance, it's very bad to eat a sweet dessert on an empty stomach, because you will spike too much the glucose, and that excess of glucose at that time can go to the wrong direction. But when you're having sugar, even when it's combined with other fibers and proteins as well, you don't have that big spike of glucose in your blood, then you're not damaging your body. So it's the spike of glucose that can damage more your skin and other parts of your body.
That's such a good point, because when you add the collagen peptides, you are reducing the spike. If you add good fat, like avocado, exactly, then you're reducing the spike.
Yeah, because it's taking it longer to digest in your body to break down those fats, and so you're not getting that with that huge hit. Yeah. Anyone that's, I highly recommend. I think Levels Health does a good job at this, where they'll give you a continuous glucose monitor wear for a short period of time, and you'll just be blown away by what spikes you versus what doesn't. Yeah, it's like rice is a huge offender for me. Even like brown rice. It's like I'm through the roof. And I would have never guessed that had I known, I actually worn one of those devices. So that's a good hack. One of the things, we got to 2. Are there any more that you think are worth covering as big dietary offenders or things that we're doing in our environment?
It's also, hydration is super important for the skin. So keep in mind that you're consuming enough water throughout the day is something that will be important, not only for your skin, but the function of your body, overall body. And I don't know, can you think about something else here, Carol?
Yeah, I would say obviously sleep interferes a lot, stress, everything that you think in your lifestyle that are going to increase inflammation is going to impact your skin.
You're going to say alcohol. I know it's got to be on the list too. I love a good glass of champagne.
Yeah, I mean, alcohol in the end is sugar, so it's all about...
That's why I do dry. That's
already better.
Everything in life, at the end, we need to find that balance. That we cannot, it will be so hard if you say don't eat sugar, don't drink alcohol, we need to be realistic and adapt as well. So I mean, a glass of wine, if you don't drink 3 bottles of wine every day, then
some days. One of the things that I think is pretty sound science behind it, at least in the colleagues that I talk to that are actual scientists, like my wife, is collagen supplementation. Mm-hmm. The thing that's confusing to me is that when I go to any of these stores or you look online, there's collagen type 1, type 2, type 3, it goes all the way down the chain. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on collagen in general, supplementing it? And then also, is there certain types that stand out as being better for the skin than others?
So collagen is a protein that acts as a structural support to our skin and other organs in our body. Bone, ligaments, cartilage, they are very high in collagen. As you said, we have different types of collagen. Collagen type 1 is the most abundant in our whole body. So it's very abundant on the skin, but also on bone and cartilage and other tissues as well. Collagen type 2 is more specific for cartilage. So the collagen is giving the elasticity and the strength for the tissues. That's why cartilage has a different elasticity from the skin, because the type of collagen is different in these 2 tissues. So collagen 1 and 3, they are the main build blocks of the skin. So if you're looking for a supplement, these 2 types are the most related to skin. Collagen 2 is more related to cartilage, so for joint health.
Right. So if you're a jogger and you're experiencing some joint pain, that might be the one you go for.
But one important thing to talk about when you're ingesting collagen, a lot of people think that, the collagen that I'm eating is going to my skin. Mm-hmm. And it's not exactly that the mechanism, because collagen is a big protein, and when you ingest, it will be cleaved in your stomach into small peptides. And this will go through your bloodstream. And because you have so many other organs that also use collagen, this will be distributed. It's not that all that supplement is going to your skin, So it can have benefits on your skin, can have general benefits because you are adding a protein source, amino acid source that's a good amino acid source for your body. But not always it will be a straight relation that, this that I ingested, now it's going to my skin and having this right correlation.
Do you both take collagen, or is that something that because I've seen so many varying also people say, hey, 2.5 grams is where you need to be. Mm-hmm. And so I'll take I got these gummies and they're the good brand, I think. And so I take them and that's where I'm at. But I have some other people that are 10 or 15 grams per day is where we need to be. Yeah. Do you have an opinion on that?
In my case, I kind of like, I take my diet, I support with a nutritionist, and I have like that amount of protein, total protein that I need to have per day. And sometimes it has like a percentage of that's coming from collagen. Mm-hmm. It varies, but it's more being sure that I'm having enough protein throughout the whole day. Can come from collagen source or other sources as well.
How is bone broth because I know that's pretty high in collagen. Yeah. Is that the type that we want?
That's more for type 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's tasty as hell. Like
it's good. I mean, your joints are super important.
Yeah, super important. And the bone also has collagen type 1. So it's kind of a mix there as well.
Yeah. All right. Just a quick plug for my newsletter. I really don't like email. And so for me, a newsletter is only once a month. I cannot send you any more emails than that. It would drive me crazy if I was on the receiving side of that. So my once a month newsletter is just packed with high quality information. This is all the products that I'm checking out, other great clips and YouTube videos that I'm finding across the web. Oftentimes I have friends that are launching new products, so I'll have early beta access to those types of things. Some of the books that I'm reading, some of my favorite podcast clips, movies. You can sign up for this over at kevinrose.com. Join 115,000 other readers. kevinrose.com. You'll find the little newsletter link there and sign up today. Well, I got to say, first of all, that the skincare industry is so confusing to me in that, like, when I started first on this journey of like trying to figure out, okay, what should my regimen look like going into my 40s? Because it was the first time I started to care about my skin. I go to the websites and none of them are catered towards men really. And so it's like, it was really difficult for me to find my way. And then there's like serums and like there's eye toners. Things and like there's toners and there's like, and I'm like, this is like witchcraft. Like there's like so many potions to consider.
I know.
I'm like, I can't figure this all out. Like, I don't know. I asked my wife, I'm like, do I put a serum on first and then a thing? And it's just like so confusing. But I think I have some stuff here that is, I cut all that crap out and said, okay, what does the science actually say? And what is important? Retinol comes up a lot as being a good thing. I'm just now, because I have some dark spots from sun damage, I just now started adding a low dose of retinol to my regimen because I noticed that it dries my skin out real fast. And you have to put an SPF on it right afterwards. Do you think retinol is considered like something that people, I mean, it does work, right? For in generally speaking?
Yeah. So the way that retinol works, and retinol is a derivative of vitamin A. And there are different types of retinol or forms of retinol. So if you apply the retinol, it's going to be converted in retinoic acid inside your skin. And this retinoic acid binds into several receptors that will induce cell renewal. So basically what you're inducing is a process that you are peeling off the upper layers of your skin, some more drastic, some more like mild, depending on the strength of your retinol. Tretinoin is, stronger. Maybe the retinol that you're using is a little more mild.
Mine says like 0.3 or something. They do in like different doses.
So and if it's retinol or not retinoic acid, it is the most like mild version. So by inducing this cell renewal, what you're doing is basically growing a fresher skin. So that's why when you have pigments, these pigments that are, spots of melanin, it's based on the epidermal layer. So in the epidermal layer, you have two main cell types. That's keratinocytes and melanocytes. The melanocytes produce the pigment. So by basically stripping the upper layers of your skin and growing a new one, you can hopefully grow one that's more homogeneous and even in terms of pigment. But if you have underlying issues, you can still have that pigment, even if you're growing a new one, or this is just a temporary effect.
What's underlying issues? Like what would that be?
Inflammation.
Okay,
inflammation is one of the main causes of like dysregulation in melanin deposition.
Oh, okay. So that's why it comes back.
Yeah.
Because I've seen like I had this little tiny spot on my hand right here, and I put like some of that on there, and it got lighter. I was like, oh hell yeah. Like I fixed that, and then it came back like a month later. I'm like, what the hell? Like I thought I repaired it.
Yeah.
But it's not really a repair. It's like it seems like a temporary thing.
Yeah. It's just because you are shedding some of those skin layers, and then you're basically building up new ones. But again, if you have that underlying issue, you're gonna still have that. So trying to fix like the underlying issue is the best approach, is also the hardest. but that you can see results that can last long term.
Yeah. A lot of sites that I look at these products are insanely expensive to begin with, but like they'll have $150 little tiny bottle of vitamin C.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I understand vitamin C. It's like I use it when I'm sick. I try to get the, I think I get the liposomal version. You know, I want the most bioavailability. Like I'm that deep into it. But topically, is there data to support actually putting it on the skin?
Yeah, so the vitamin C is an antioxidant. So it's like clearing the free radicals and protecting the skin. There is data that vitamin C helps your skin health, but vitamin C is a very tricky molecule. It's not a stable molecule.
I've heard it's not stable.
So one of the main problems, like with a lot of products, is that they contain the wrong version or the wrong the combination in the formula to preserve that vitamin C. For instance, vitamin C is very light sensitive. So if you see vitamin C on a flask that you can go through like light,
right?
I mean, I would be a little bit skeptical.
It's interesting. I bought one of the more expensive ones, and one of the things I noticed, it was in a total blacked out like bottle. It wouldn't show you, you can't even see it at all. Yeah.
So, and it's hard for the consumer to know, like, okay, is this vitamin C a good one or a bad one? Yeah. There are some types, then you need to go on the ingredient list. There are some types when it's written L-ascorbic acid, if I'm not wrong, right, Carol? That's like a better version of the vitamin C.
There are more stable versions of vitamin C that, and you can see if the vitamin C is oxidizing because it changes its color. It gets a little more brown.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So should it be more like a golden color?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So if it's a darker brown color,
it's probably getting oxidized.
It's the oxidized, and then it's no good.
Then it's not doing anything. Exactly. It's just like.
And it could even be bad for your skin. But as Alessandra was saying, so vitamin C is really important because it's antioxidant properties. It can also help on collagen production. So the enzyme that produces collagen use vitamin C as like a cofactor, like an important piece of the protein building process. And it can also suppress melanin production. So it also can help with like the dark spots. We have tested several products in the market that contain vitamin C. Some of them have a really high dose or antioxidant power, and these are the good ones for dark spots. Some just have like a basal level that's good as an antioxidant.
How do you test those? Like, what does the lab look like?
So we can like expose the antioxidant to free radicals and see the scavenging of these free radicals. Yeah. So it just change the color and you measure the absorbance, if it's like scavenging the free radicals or not. Yeah. And then you can determine like the power of one antioxidant or a full formula. We determine we have vitamin C on one of our products. And in the whole process of choosing the antioxidants, we were doing this test, not only with the ingredient, because sometimes the raw ingredient has a high power, but at the end, the final formula, how it's working, right? It's the most important. So we do that step as well.
That's interesting. And then you probably have to test, 30 days in packaging as well to be like, okay, is this maintaining? Exactly. Is it oxidized or not?
Yeah, we have stability tests on the final package to ensure. And most of our packages as well, they're airless and opaque because then you don't have air come in contact with the formula. So that's also helping preserving the properties of the formula, and opaque to avoid the light as well.
Wow. That's an intense process.
Yes.
That's really cool. There's no shortage of actual ingestible supplements outside of collagen. You see like skin and nail support or, like all the big major brands have something. Is there anything else out there supplement-wise, not topical, but actual ingestible that is important for skin health? Or is it just mainly collagen as the kind of go-to?
I think that always is very important, like independently if you're going to take supplements or not, you need to think about your overall diet. Because even if you take supplements, but you're having a very bad diet and a very bad routine on sleep, on exercise, it will not do magic as well.
Right.
So in terms of supplements for the skin, it's very important to keep the hydration so you have a good quality of skin. So this is water. Water is a good supplement then.
What do you recommend on that front? Because forever I've heard like 8 glasses of water a day. Or do you have a different formula that you all adhere to?
Yeah, we're I'm on the formula of 2 liters per day.
Yeah, it's about 8 glasses.
Yeah, 8 glasses.
Okay, so about that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good range.
Sometimes you add some electrolytes that helps you to absorb, to maintain the hydration.
Yeah.
Helps as well. Yeah.
I do that as well, especially because I do a lot of sauna usage and things like that, where you're just like losing a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other supplement?
Yeah, I would say that in general, you want to have like a healthy diet that's gonna decrease, overall production of inflammation. So you can add like, fatty acids like omega-3, but you can also consume this from your diet.
Right.
Vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin C. These are all important vitamins for your skin and for our overall health.
Yeah. Right.
So, and even,
But there's no silver bullet here where you're like, no, Kevin, you got to take this one little thing and that'll...
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just
keep
a general...
healthy diet, drink a lot of water, overall
protect
balance.
From the sun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. All right. So would love to cover, what are peptides and what has been, this is exciting. So I to tell people who are watching, why I wanted to have you guys on, I thought this was really important is because you started a company called OneSkin.
Yeah.
And, one of the things for me, my wife, she's a very healthy person, healthier than I am, and has her Ph.D. in neuroscience. So she is connected to a lot of scientists. She actually went to school with Huberman. They were like friends.
Oh, that's
friends
awesome.
They're friends from back in the day. They were in the same lab. And so, Atia has been my physician for a long time. Rhonda Patrick's a dear friend. Like I've known a lot of these people. And so Dr. David Sinclair has been on my podcast before. These are people that I look to and say, okay, what are they paying attention to?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're reading all the literature, right? Yeah. And they're not just making shit up. Like they're looking at peer reviews, like published studies. And when they mention something and I hear it once or twice, then something goes off in my head and I'm like, I'm a geek. And so I'm like, hey, like maybe I should start paying attention to this. Yeah. Dr. David Sinclair mentioned you all, and I heard about that. And then Rhonda had mentioned it as something that she was interested in by reading one of the research papers. She had not used your products at that time. And I'm like, okay, well, there's those two, like flag goes up, 2 scientists that are like insanely well respected. You're hitting their radar. You're doing something right. Yeah. And you also just won Fast Company, Most Innovative Company of the Year award. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I was like, well, shit, like we got to get these ladies on the podcast and like talk about like what's going on here. So what are you building? What have you discovered? And like, this is a science first approach. Would really love to hear about the research.
Yeah. So we're a science-led company that started as a biotech. So we started, although our products are only in the market for the last 3 years, we started the company in 2016. And what we did was develop this robust platform that was designed to find and validate molecules that has skin age reversal capabilities. So we spent 5 years in the lab reproducing skin aging, like building human skins and understanding the changes in the biomarkers that are changing on the skin. We look to the morphology of the skin, we look to the gene expression, we look to epigenetic changes, and we start to understand what's the root cause of skin aging and how the senescent cells, this accumulation of senescent cells, it's playing a role on the skin aging process. On the early beginning, we start to look to the products in the market and test in our platform. And what we realize is that the products out there, they are not targeting the root cause of aging, and therefore they do not reverse skin aging. And sometimes they can even like deteriorate or accelerate the aging process. And when we start to realize that, we went to a screen, we we kind of like, we were changing a lot of times the direction that we were going, because this first platform, the idea would be to create a seal, like, okay, a OneSkin seal for your product. But we saw an opportunity to look to a better molecule than what's out there in the market.
Oh, so you wanted to validate products initially.
Yeah, initially,
you were thinking like, okay, I'll get these in, we'll try them against actual skin cells and like figure out which ones work.
Yeah.
And give
that would have been, that's pretty cool. That explains the vitamin C story, because you tried a bunch of vitamin C's and like which ones are legit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then as we were seeing like that, there was retinol is the gold standard until now, but it's a molecule that was developed over 50 years ago. There's not like new innovation targeting skin aging. So we start to look for molecules and screen molecules that specifically would reduce senescence burden. So for that,
how do you find those? Like, how do you like even like start to begin to look for specific molecules? Like I hear about AI doing that now, right? AI started to come in the picture where they're like bringing forward candidates for researchers to look into.
So we started with a library of peptides from a collaborator of ours from Brazil. So he was studying antimicrobial peptides. And we were wondering if some of those peptides could have an impact in senescent cells. So we basically, hypothesis 3, basically let's try and see what happens. So we added each peptides, 200 peptides, in contact with cells that were highly senescent. And then we did the first test and we measured the amount of senescent cells at the end. And we found 4 hits, 4 peptides that performed well. And then we use AI. We use AI to optimize those 4 sequences and create 800 out of these 4. And then we did another round of tests. And then we got to a better molecule that was more efficient in reducing the amount of senescent cells. And
so is this a novel molecule that you all have? Oh, interesting.
It's a completely novel proprietary peptide that we call OS1. And we have published a paper that describes the mechanism of action, how it works, how it enters the cells, activates DNA repair pathways, basically reduces the pathways that are producing inflammation. So in the end, you have fewer senescent cells. We can also show that it reverses the age of the skin. So in the end, we can also see that the skins treated in the lab with OS1, they have 2.5 years. They are 2.5 years younger than the skins that were not treated.
Wow.
So it's a very interesting approach, because basically our rationale is, if senescent cells is one of the main drivers of aging, if we target senescent cells, can we reverse skin aging? And then the way that we measure the skin biological age, we could actually quantify this age reversal effect.
So this is really cool science, but the one thing that is so very important, as you all know, is like really making sure that you get this validated in a way that isn't just, more marketing copy that we all see on every product everywhere, talking about anti-aging. Anti-aging is burnt out as a topic these days, because it's mostly bullshit, right? And so, what process did you go through for this to get proper, peer-reviewed, placebo-controlled actual studies to show that this is actually the case?
Yeah, so first was all the science done in the lab, where we do the experiments, we test compared to a control, we test our molecule, and then we evaluated the gene expression, senescence level, biological age. And all this lab study we submitted to a peer-reviewed journal, so peer scientists look to that, come back. Was even to the process for publishing this data on this novel peptide. It took 2 years, because we need even to show more data, and we did a single cell experiment to understand really the mechanism of the peptide, and then was published in a very good journal, Nature Publishing Journal. And after that, after we have the molecule, we have always done the formulation and test the formula, the final formula, in the lab, but also on clinical studies. So we have clinical data. And the first one that we did, we were very bold on our hypothesis that we did the final formula of our face product with and without a peptide, and we did a split face study.
On a single person.
And this was just recently published.
That's
as well.
Really screwed up. Somebody walked away with a jacked up face. So how does that work?
So we were able, and the interesting thing is more than, because sometimes the perception of the person is is this better? Or if it's hard, right, to say if it's better or not, but we use instruments to analyze. So we measure the skin barrier properties of the skin. And it was improved on the side that contained the peptide versus the other one. And participants are blind. The person that's conducting this study is also blind. We saw difference also on the texture of the skin, reduction on the indentation of the wrinkles, so less wrinkles on the side that had the peptide versus the other one. So
tell me how you measure that, because I see typically you go to a skincare website and they're like 12 weeks later, and there's like a picture A, picture B, you're like, was that photoshopped, or you know what I mean? What's a scientific way to actually measure wrinkles?
So there is the, what they say, expert blind analysis that either in person or through a picture, someone will give a rate on the quality of that wrinkles from 1 to 5. And then it's completely blinded and you see the results of the baseline versus 12 weeks. Or you can also use some of the images to really analyze using a software the depth of those wrinkles, and that measure this length of the wrinkles and creates a map, and it's a software analyzing, so it's
like high resolution kind of thing.
Yes,
that seems way more objective than a subjective person just coming in and being like, it looks like, because they might have had a hard night of drinking or something, and then they're all jacked up the next day.
Yeah, so the main ones are Vigia, and there's another one called Antera. So these ones can quantify, they generate images, and you can see the depth of the wrinkle. So you can quantify these chains in a more, I would say, accurate way than a human subject analyzing it.
And then there are other instruments that can measure the water loss, like the hydration and how is the skin barrier, also the elasticity. So anytime that you look to a result of clinical studies on a website, if it's consumer perception or subjective perception, it's good that the study was done, but it's not as analytical as when you have instrumental data. Because instrumental data then is more like quantifying the changes without subjective perception.
Have you gone further? Have you gone biopsy? And okay, so that's crazy. Yeah, how do you sign someone up for that? You're probably doing the back and neck or something, or where do you do that?
So for that one, that we want to evaluate if we can reduce the skin age in humans, we needed to collect biopsy, and then we did on the outer arm, because it's an area that's also sun exposed, but people are more willing to give biopsy.
Then the face is harder to convince someone
to take a chunk out. Yeah.
And they are very small. It's 1 millimeter biopsy.
Right.
It doesn't even leave a scar, but
Yeah, that's still tougher for the face.
Yeah, and we're still analyzing. So we're measuring the changes in the biological age on people after using the product. We hope to have this final data. We had run a pilot already that had nice results, but was only 10 participants. So the statistical analysis was not that strong, but was on the right direction. So we improved for 30 participants, and this is ongoing right now. We hope that this year, by the end of the year, we will have the data published as well.
So you call this compound OS1, is
Correct.
that right?
Yeah.
So I've been using it now for a couple months, and I've already, I've noticed good things. I've generally, I have less little lines around here. Mm-hmm. This line that I naturally have all the time is not as the big as it once was. Mm-hmm. My neck, it doesn't look, it's good. But I didn't notice a reduction in dark spots. That's the only thing. Is that because I have naturally dark spots around both sides. Are there limitations to how far this can go? And what have you found and what have you run into? What is it good at? What is the compound good at? And are there things that it's not good at that you might add an additional compound over time?
Yeah, so we did a test the peptide effect in melanin production, and we compared with retinol that you're using and kojic acid. So these are two ingredients well known for hyperpigmentation. In the lab, we saw that our peptide performed better than retinol and kojic acid in producing both what we call intracellular melanin and extracellular, because the melanin that's is ejected from the cells is the one that you're going to notice. But obviously, the product was not designed to target like pigmentation. So you can complement with, potentially a retinol can help exfoliating the skin. Also, some products that are high in vitamin C that are more potent that can help. So hyperpigmentation is definitely a very challenging condition, so that you can try with like different approaches to see if you can. But in general, what we would recommend, like a light exfoliation that you can induce that cell turnover. You can potentially use retinol, but don't forget to pair with the product that's gonna hydrate and counteract the side effects of retinol. Vitamin C, and obviously sunscreen, because if you're gonna get more dark spots if you don't treat and be exposed in the sun.
It's interesting. Everyone must be just so uniquely different. Because when my father was still around and alive, if you looked at him in his 70s, he had just massive dark spots, And I know that like people go to and they get lasers done to actually work on these as well. Are the lasers, like, I've heard scary things. I've heard like it can either like really work, or it can actually sometimes go the opposite way and make them darker.
Yeah, because what can happen is that rebound effect, right? Like if you insult your skin too much, if you basically rip off like and you remove completely the epidermal layer, then you need to grow a new epidermal layer, but you caused so much insult and damage to your skin that the inflammation can, make that process to come back like even worse. So some ingredients, for example, hydroquinone that people also use that inhibits tyrosinase, that's one of the enzymes it's involved in melanin production, they can have this rebound effect. So I would definitely avoid hydroquinone. I think retinol, if you're going to, kind of a mild way, it can help. But in lasers, IPL is one that usually is not super strong, but there are others that can potentially cause that rebound that you just need to be careful.
Yeah.
And one thing that we need to think when we go to laser and other approaches is like, your skin, how is the skin health at that moment. It's important to how your skin will react to that treatment. As Carol was saying, like the underlying causes of what's bringing this dark spot or inflammation. So we see our product pairing super well with those kind of procedures, because it's helping to reduce the aging and the damage on the skin. So the skin is more in a healthy state. So when you do those treatments, you can benefit more and see better results.
I see.
Yeah. You have a more resilient skin. So even if you have some kind of damage, your skin recovers in a healthier way. Yeah.
I love the fact that your products, they're just straightforward. It's like you have a face wash, you have like a body kind of like lotion, and you've got like a general like face, and then you have some eye stuff if you really want the concentrated. So the eye serum, it's not serum, it's just
cream.
Dry cream. It's the most concentrated version of this OS1, right?
Yeah.
So am I doing it wrong? I'm kind of cheating because I'm kind of putting that all over.
Other places.
Is that cheating, or is that okay?
It's okay if you have like places that you're seeing that.
Well, I'm just putting it all over my face.
You can also do that. It gets more expensive, but it's very interesting, because why we decided to produce the eye cream was we were seeing on the literature, and there was a very interesting research done measuring the biological age of different areas of the skin face. And the biological age of the under eye and the eyelid was 20 to 30 years older than on the temples and cheeks.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. It's a thinner skin, accumulates more damage. So we started to receive eyelid and under eye skin in our lab, and it's so thin as well. And we start to look to the markers of senescence.
How do you buy eye skin, like eyelids?
So we go to the market and we ask, like, can you?
There, you can buy, like, as a researcher, like usually skin from abdomen, like from plastic surgery.
Oh, interesting. Because they're getting rid of it anyway.
Yeah, they're getting rid.
And from
also
like blepharoplastic.
From blepharoplastic surgery, there is like skin that's left over. And you can either partner with a dermatologist, or there are some places that you can buy as well. So having that skin in our lab, we start like really to realize how thin is that skin and how much damage when we measure the markers of aging on that skin. So the whole optimization of the formula was all treated on the skins from the eyelid. And then we compared even with the face product. We treat eyelid skins with face and the eye cream. And we see that face is able to reduce cellular senescence markers, inflammatory markers, but it's more potent with this formula that we created specific for this area. And even the collagen production, the induction is higher. So that's why we recommend, especially if you already have more visible signs of aging, to use the eye cream. If you are still like on early 30s and you have like still a good, you can use face on the eye area. It's completely safe and you can see benefits. But yeah, our eye cream is the most potent, and sometimes you can use on other areas if you want.
That's awesome. What do you think about probiotics and skin biome? Is that a thing, or is that just like made? I mean, obviously it's a thing, and that there's like bacteria on your skin. But are they harmful and like?
Yeah, I mean, microbiome is a very complex kind of subject. We know that there are obviously, bacteria in our skin that's good for us, and the goal of a probiotic is to increase the ratio of good bacteria and decrease the ratio of the bad bacteria and fungi and virus. So they are important to maintain the skin health and the skin barrier. So if you have like a balanced microbiome, they are gonna generate metabolites that control inflammation. So it's super, super important for your skin. How you manage that in terms of a change in the microbiome, you can change for bad if you use bad products, if you use products that have some preservatives that can really kill off a lot of the good bacteria. In our case, we are not experts in microbiome, but one thing that we want to make sure is that our product didn't disturb the skin microbiome. So we did run a test that we evaluate after how many weeks?
So as after 6 weeks was a clinical study. So we swabbed the skin at baseline and we sequenced the skin microbiome. And after 6 weeks using the face product, we swab again and sequence the microbiome again. And what we saw with our product was that we are not disturbing the microbiome, so it's a microbiome friendly. There was even some indications of the good bacteria being proliferating in a better environment after the 6 weeks. But as Carol was saying, so complex, and there's still a lot of like knowledge starting to be built on the correlation of aging, longevity, and the skin microbiome. That's hard like to make the final say what is good or bad.
Right.
But in general, we do see, and I think it's important in a lot of products, they don't care or they don't have resources.
I mean, the fact that you even did this is pretty amazing.
We did that like just to make sure, and we at least we done for OS1 face that you can use on the whole body, on the whole face. We will potentially do with the other products as well, but at least we know that we are not disturbing the skin microbiome, because it is important to keep your skin healthy, to have like a good skin microbiome.
Yeah, that's awesome that you even did that study.
Yeah.
A couple other questions for you. Red light therapy. It is like if you go to any of these dermatologists, or more so like just like someone that's going to exfoliate you or something like that. My wife signed me up for one time in SF, and I went, and it was a crazy experience. I hadn't done a whole heck of a lot of that, but they put all kinds of lasers and shit on my face, like not lasers, but like the different LEDs on my face. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I was like sitting there, I'm like, this is kind of some bullshit. Like I just don't think it's like real. Like, do you think there's any good data to support any of that? Like,
there are a lot of studies, and I think there is an agreement that it helps your skin. It's through light, so the mechanism is a little complex, but it's not, because it's a low how can I say, is a low impact, and it needs to be something that you use every day
Yes.
to see results, long term. So, but there are studies showing that it's going to improve the cellular function. So your cell will function in terms of like producing more energy, and then this will lead like to more collagen production, to the overall health of your skin, can have like anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah.
But it's not like one day that you do 30 minutes that
Right.
you're going to see results.
Right, which is what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. So usually if you have a regimen or a routine of using, 20 minutes a day, every day, there are studies supporting that, because in the end, the goal is to reduce like inflammation and improve that cellular function in a different mechanism that our product works. So, and the good part is that there is no, detrimental effect. So it's very safe. So for people that, want to try different strategies, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I was talking to Rhonda Patrick about this, and she's, I don't know that she's published her report on it yet, but she was saying that there's just so many companies out there in that field.
Yeah.
And you have to get the spectrum right.
Yeah.
And there also has to be a proximity to the skin that gives you enough penetration to actually make it work.
Yeah.
And so she had I won't spoil her article, but she had thrown away a bunch of it seemed to be like bad candidates just because it was a lot of marketing hype.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's good science here.
Yeah, there is something there.
But there's something there, but it has to be the right delivery mechanism.
I agree.
So it feels like that's what we're all waiting to see.
Yeah.
So really curious to see what she comes out with. All right. So acne scars are a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Anything we can do?
I mean, acne after the scar is formed is a very complex thing to solve, because it means that the extracellular matrix, like the collagen matrix, it's built differently from the rest of your skin. It's somehow unhealthy, the balance. And also you have more production of melanin. That's why it sometimes get like a different color. So once you have the scar, the repair system is a little bit hard to do.
Yeah.
If you're improving your skin health, and there are products that you can use together, there's some microneedling that's like trying to induce the repair pathways again and remodeling that tissue again, that can help. There are some peelings that can help, but it will all depend on the degree of that scar. And it's a medical doctor can analyze, but it's hard to have like a single topical product that will eliminate scar tissue from acne,
Yeah, you brought up microneedling, which is interesting because it's a hot topic right now, hot area. I say this like I know what I'm talking about, but like I've heard enough people talking about it. I will say that a friend of mine, she went in recently. This is some true shit. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. She got her blood drawn, and then they spin it and they pull out the stem cells out of it, and then you can microneedle and put stem cells back into your face. Or maybe it's the stem cells they're pulling out. I don't know what they're pulling out of the blood.
Is it platelet?
Platelets,
PRP. Yeah.
Yes. Is that real science?
Yeah, because there are a lot of growth factors in your plasma. So basically what they're doing is concentrating those growth factors and applying. Some people apply on your hair for hair growth. You can also apply in your skin. But also what I usually say, okay, if your body is healthy, if you have like a low inflammation body, that can work. If your body is completely inflamed, even if you purify your PRP and apply in your face, it may not work.
Yes.
So you needed to basically harvest from a good source. And if that person is healthy, you are just concentrating those growth factors and applying, so your skin will regenerate in a more efficient way.
Interesting.
And the microneedling allows the penetration of those growth factors. So it's important to have the microneedling associated on this kind of treatment.
So they can break through and actually get in.
Yeah.
What allows your compound to get past that barrier to actually get in and do its work?
So we did studies. So there is permeability on our skin. And because of the size, the conformation, and the type of formulas we have, the peptide can naturally penetrate the skin. And we know that because we measure, like when we have a human skin in our lab, we can use a tool called, it's a front cell, where you apply the product on top and you see what's coming, pulling down. And we can just like detect through mass spectrometry the amount of peptide. So we know it's not all molecules that can penetrate. Yeah. This is something also important because not all companies looked penetration studies on even like growth factors. There sometimes you see growth factors on products and usually they have high size. And I'm not sure if they will penetrate or not, and they don't have data to ensure that. Yeah. So a lot of times you're buying something that the concept is nice, like the idea is nice, but if it's not being delivered, it's not working. It's not having the action.
Yeah.
Is it crazy that like when I put stuff on, I just like, I rub it, I'm kind of like, good, I'm done. Do I really need to massage it in? Like, am I going to get any benefit from like really working the compound into the skin?
I don't think the massage will, help the compound. Obviously, you apply and make sure that you don't rub it off, like to just like make sure that you have a nice application. I think the massage helps in other ways, with blood circulation, more nutrients being delivered, and it kind of helps like clearing out the skin. But I think it just like...
I mean, if it can help, there's no science like, if you massage for 30 seconds, you have better benefits. It's a self-care moment as well. So
you kind of know too once it's like enough.
You need to feel that you have enough, that your skin feels hydrated, and then you should be good to go.
Awesome. Yes. 2 more questions before we wrap it up. OS 1 would... in software iterations, there might be an OS 2 and OS 3. Like what's... are you, obviously you're still working on new science.
Yes.
How do you continue to push things forward?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're studying right now is really to understand the precise mechanism of action that the peptide works, because knowing where it binds and which cells is activating a more, I would say, precise way, we can, create modifications that can optimize that peptide. We can create smaller versions of the peptide that can penetrate even better. So we are working on that, doing these studies that are more like molecular studies.
It's super interesting because we have I love this part, so go for it. We have the skin tissue and we're treating with the peptide and we are isolating single cells of the tissue. So on our skin, we have like mainly keratinocytes and fibroblasts, but we have melanocytes, we have endothelial cells, we have immune cells. So now the study that we're doing, it's individually on all the cells that are on the skin, what's the effect that the peptide treatment is giving? How, and it's like
on a cell-by-cell basis.
Cell by cell basis.
Wow, that's
and we
crazy.
can see and now we are able to identify if the peptide is like reducing more cellular senescence in one cell type versus other. And we are like analyzing this, and this can allow us, okay, now we know exactly where he's more potent, the peptide is more potent. Let's find a molecule then for this other target.
Right, so you can put A and B and then you'll have a better outcome.
Have like synergistic effects. So this is what we're working
that would be like a 1.1 or something. Oh, interesting.
So our goal is
exciting.
It's super exciting. Our goal is eventually like to bring like iPhone bring a new version of the cell phone, we will bring the new version of the OS 1 face with these improvements that are all science-based to a better, to improve efficacy and improve the final results of the product.
That's awesome. Yeah. A couple more questions. How does this, do you have to worry about different skin types, like, male versus female, thickness levels, darker skins versus lighter skins? Like, is this kind of a general peptide that can work on all skin types?
Yeah, the peptide, because it's targeting like the mechanism of aging, the underlying mechanism of aging, and this is occurring, does not matter like the gender or the skin type. So the mechanism of the peptide is independent. It can work on all genders.
Universally
and skin
true
type.
for all humans.
Yeah, and then what we try to do it's create a formula for delivering this peptide that's more universal, that can suit well different skin types. So this is kind of like the formulation process that we chose to use to not overcomplicate. So there is difference like on the skin from men to women in terms that men, they produce more collagen than women. This is unfair, but like,
Yeah.
so women usually start aging first, like faster than men. The skin aging happens earlier on women. But the reason why it's happening is the same. Eventually, like in the men, it's the accumulation of these damaged cells, senescent cells, the inflammation. So what the peptide is doing is like common, and that's why the product can be used by different skin type and different genders as well.
That's fantastic. What are some common skincare myths and misconceptions that you'd like to correct that are out there today? Are there things that people believe to be true that you look at and you're just like, why are people doing this?
I think one of them is that you need like 10-step skincare routine to have like a good skin. I think the goal is try to simplify and to minimize the amount of like products and be more intentional with the ingredients that you are delivering. The other one, I think this is an important one, is about causing too much damage in order to have like, nicer, I'd say, flawless skin. Because, for example, for a long time, everyone was pushing for the highest strength of retinol.
Right.
Or you're going to the dermatologist and you were doing those peeling that you were basically like removing the
layers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the intensive skin
exactly.
peels.
And now we are realizing that long term, this may not be, the best option for your skin health. Yeah. If you do too much damage, eventually you can exhaust your skin. Your skin can get like very thin and more vulnerable and sensitive over time. So I think there is a balance. And I was one of these people that was using retinol all the time in peeling off and think, okay, I'm just getting younger. This is good for me. And that's how it is. Until we start testing retinol in the lab. And we were seeing that when we apply retinol in the skin cells, like it not only increases inflammation, which we can all see if we use retinol in the first days, but also some genes related to aging were going up. And then I was like, okay, this is supposed to be anti-aging, and it's like, elevating some genes associated with aging. And I think the main conclusion is that, yes, retinol can do that in the, acute phase when your skin is getting adapt. But if you continue to insult your skin with stronger and stronger versions, you may be exhausting your skin. And this cumulative damage may not be good for you in the long term. So I think it's basically respecting your skin and trying to find that balance of, a little bit of what we call like hormetic stress, right?
Yes.
That you are activating your skin cells to work well for you, and but not, crossing that line that you're causing too much damage. And maybe the other one that's also interesting is about Botox, right? Like, is Botox good or bad for you? I don't think that, it's bad. I think it's bad if you overdo it. Because if you're overdoing it, or basically make your skin muscles lazy because you're not using them, for that time. And you need also to pair Botox with something that is activating your skin cells to produce collagen. Because Botox by itself won't do that, right? We'll just erase your wrinkles because it's paralyzing the muscles. So I think obviously there are those options that can give you like that smooth appearance, but it's not treating the underneath cause. And in the end, like, okay, I can do a little bit of Botox and I can have a very good skincare regimen at home that is still enhancing my skin health and my skin's ability to produce collagen.
Turns out it's about the slow and steady long game versus any quick fix, it sounds like.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Really appreciate you both coming on and chatting through these topics. Where can people read more of the research? Where can they learn more about what you all are up to?
Yeah, so on our website, oneskin.co, there is a section, scientific publication. So you can see like the original piece of data. We also have a blog, it's called Reference Lab. And in our blog, we kind of digest all our papers into a more easy, friendly type of communication. We also talk about a lot of the myth on skin aging, but also overall health and longevity. So these two places inside our website are very good sources to look into our data.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Kevin.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Awesome.